Right now, in your kitchen, there is almost certainly a food product that is illegal in dozens of countries around the world, not because of some obscure trade dispute, because other nations looked at the ingredients and decided they were too dangerous for human consumption. The United States allows over 10,000 food additives. The European Union allows around 350. That gap is not a rounding error. It is a fundamentally different philosophy about what is safe to eat, and it affects every single meal you consume. The most popular candy in America gets its signature red color from a petroleum-derived chemical called red dye number 40. Every year, the United States uses over 15 million pounds of this single food dye. It is in candy, cereal, sports drinks, yogurt, salad dressing, and even medications marketed to children. In 2007, a landmark British study called the Southampton Study found a clear link between artificial food dyes and hyperactivity in children. The European Union took immediate action. Products containing red 40 in Europe now carry a mandatory warning label that reads, "May have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children." Several European countries went further and banned it outright. In the United States, the FDA reviewed the same study and concluded that the evidence was not strong enough to take action. 15 million pounds of petroleum-based dye continued flowing into the American food supply. What makes this especially frustrating is that the alternatives already exist. Many companies already make dye-free versions of their products for European markets using beet juice, turmeric, and paprika extract. They simply choose not to sell those versions in America because artificial dyes are cheaper, about 40 cents cheaper per unit. The entire reason your child's fruit snacks are colored with petroleum instead of beets comes down to less than 50 cents. But if you think food coloring is bad, wait until you hear what they are putting in your bread. That soft, fluffy sandwich bread you bought last week probably contains potassium bromate, a chemical that the International Agency for Research on Cancer has classified as a Group 2B carcinogen, meaning it possibly causes cancer in humans. Potassium bromate is added to bread dough because it strengthens the gluten structure and makes the bread rise higher and fluffier. American bread companies have relied on it since the 1950s. In 1990, the World Health Organization urged all countries to ban potassium bromate in food. The European Union banned it. China banned it. Canada banned it. Brazil, Nigeria, South Korea, Peru, the list of countries that removed bromate from bread now exceeds 30. Even the FDA's own studies in the early 90s showed that bromate caused kidney tumors in rats at relatively low doses. The agency's response was to ask bread companies to voluntarily stop using it, not ban it. Ask nicely. Over 30 years later, many American bread brands still use potassium bromate. You can find it in the ingredients list of breads at almost every grocery store. The concentrations are small, typically less than 75 parts per million, but bromate accumulates in kidney tissue over time. California is the only state that requires a cancer warning label on products containing bromate. Every other state lets it slide. Your bread contains one known cancer risk, but the preservatives keeping everything else on your shelf fresh are a whole different story. Open your pantry and grab a box of cereal. Check the ingredients. There's a good chance you will find BHA or BHT listed near the bottom. These are butylated hydroxyanisole and butylated hydroxytoluene, synthetic preservatives designed to keep fats and oils from going rancid. They are in cereal, chips, chewing gum, butter, instant noodles, and hundreds of other products. Here is what most people do not know. BHA is also used as a preservative in rubber, petroleum products, and jet fuel. In 2023, California's Proposition 65 officially listed BHA as a chemical known to cause cancer. The state of California now considers it a carcinogen. The European Union heavily restricts BHA in food and has banned it entirely in cosmetics and baby products. Japan has banned BHA in all food products since 1958. The United States Food and Drug Administration classifies both BHA and BHT as generally recognized as safe. That designation, known as GRAS, was established in 1958 and has never been updated for these chemicals despite decades of new research. Over 80 common American grocery products still contain BHA or BHT. The frustrating reality is that safer alternatives like vitamin E, rosemary extract, and ascorbic acid work just as well. They cost marginally more, but they do not carry any cancer risk. Companies choose the cheapest option because the FDA lets them. And if chemicals in your cereal concern you, what is being injected into the cows that produce your milk is even worse. Every glass of conventional American milk may contain traces of a genetically engineered hormone called recombinant bovine growth hormone, or rBGH. Monsanto developed it in the 1990s under the brand name Posilac to increase milk production in dairy cows by up to 15%. Within years of its approval, Canada, the European Union, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Israel all banned rBGH. Their reason was not just animal welfare, though the drug causes painful udder infections called mastitis that require heavy antibiotic treatment. The real concern was a hormone called insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1. Milk from rBGH-treated cows contains significantly elevated levels of IGF-1, and multiple studies have linked elevated IGF-1 in humans to increased risk of breast, prostate, and colon cancer. The American Cancer Society has acknowledged this association. Canada's health agency rejected rBGH after a thorough review, citing the IGF-1 risk and animal suffering. The European Union's scientific committee reached the same conclusion. Despite these findings, the FDA approved rBGH in 1993 and has never revoked that approval. About 17% of American dairy cows still receive the hormone. You will not know which milk contains it because the FDA does not require any labeling. Over 30 countries decided this hormone was too risky for their citizens. America decided it was fine. And if they are willing to put engineered hormones in your milk, imagine what is floating in your soda. For over 50 years, a chemical originally patented as a flame retardant was quietly swimming in bottles of Mountain Dew, Fanta Orange, and dozens of other citrus-flavored drinks across America. Brominated vegetable oil, or BVO, is vegetable oil bonded with bromine, the same element used in flame retardant chemicals for furniture and electronics. Companies added it to sodas to keep the citrus flavoring evenly distributed instead of floating to the top. The European Union and Japan banned BVO from food and drinks decades ago. In America, it remained legal until January 2024, when the FDA finally issued a ban after over 50 years on the market. The delay was staggering. Animal studies dating back to the 1970s showed that bromine accumulated in fatty tissue and could cause neurological damage, memory loss, and skin lesions at sustained exposure levels. A 2012 case study documented a man who developed severe bromine poisoning from drinking 2 to 4 liters of BVO containing soda daily. Despite clear evidence, the FDA kept BVO in a regulatory gray zone for decades, allowing it under an interim food additive status that was never finalized. It took 50 years of accumulating evidence, public pressure, and state-level action by California to finally force the federal ban. The ban gave companies until August 2025 to reformulate. That means some BVO-containing products may still be on shelves right now. It took 5 decades to ban one chemical from soda. The chemical hiding in your bread has been waiting even longer. The same chemical compound used to manufacture yoga mats, shoe soles, and foam floor padding is an approved food additive in American bread. Azodicarbonamide, sometimes listed simply as a D on ingredient labels, is a synthetic chemical used as a bleaching agent and dough conditioner. It makes bread whiter and softer. In the industrial world, it makes plastics foamier and more flexible. The European Union banned azodicarbonamide from all food products and classified it as a respiratory sensitizer that can trigger asthma. Australia and Singapore also banned it. Singapore threatened up to 15 years in prison and a $500,000 fine for using it in food. In 2014, food blogger Vani Hari launched a petition targeting Subway restaurants for using Azodicarbonamide in their bread. The story went viral when media outlets ran headlines about the yoga mat chemical in your sandwich. Subway removed it within weeks, but here is what most people missed. When azodicarbonamide breaks down during baking, it produces two byproducts. One is semicarbazide, which the European Food Safety Authority has flagged as a potential carcinogen. The other is urethane, a known carcinogen. The FDA's position is that azodicarbonamide is safe at concentrations of up to 45 parts per million. But that safety assessment does not account for the carcinogenic byproducts created during baking. Over 500 American food products still contain this chemical. You would think bread additives would be the worst of it. What is hiding in American meat makes everything else look mild. 160 countries around the world have banned a drug called Ractopamine from their meat supply. That includes the European Union, China, Russia, Turkey, and Taiwan. The United States is one of the few major nations where it remains perfectly legal. Ractopamine is a growth-promoting drug fed to pigs, cattle, and turkeys in the final weeks before slaughter to increase lean muscle mass and reduce feed costs. It belongs to a class of drugs called beta agonists, the same family as asthma inhalers. Studies show that ractopamine residues remain in the meat at the time of slaughter, and research on pigs has documented increased heart rate, trembling, broken limbs, and the inability to walk. An FDA report documented over 218,000 adverse events in pigs given ractopamine, including approximately 500 deaths. The Codex Alimentarius Commission, which sets international food safety standards, voted to establish maximum residue limits for ractopamine, but the vote passed by only 2 votes and was heavily contested by the European Union, China, and many other nations that maintain complete bans. The drug has never been tested in long-term human trials. The safety data the FDA relied on for approval came from a single study of 6 healthy young men, one of whom had to drop out due to heart palpitations. An estimated 60 to 80% of American pork contains ractopamine residues. So if all these countries ban these chemicals, why does America still allow them? The answer comes down to a fundamental difference in regulatory philosophy. The European Union operates under what is called the precautionary principle. If there is reasonable scientific evidence that a chemical might be harmful, it is restricted until proven safe. Companies must demonstrate safety before a substance enters the food supply. The United States takes the opposite approach. Under American law, a chemical is considered safe until there is overwhelming proof of harm. The burden of proof falls not on the companies making the chemicals, but on regulators trying to remove them. This is why the FDA's banned substance list is dramatically shorter than the EU's. The European Union has banned or restricted over 1,300 chemicals from food and cosmetics. The FDA has banned around 11 in food. That is not a typo. 11. The GRAS system, generally recognized as safe, makes it even worse. Companies can designate their own additives as safe without any FDA review whatsoever. An estimated 1,000 chemicals in the American food supply have never been reviewed by the FDA for safety. They were simply declared safe by the companies that profit from selling them. Reform is slowly coming. California passed the Food Safety Act in 2023, banning red dye number 3, potassium bromate, brominated vegetable oil, and propylparaben from the state's food supply. Other states are following, but federal change remains years away. The question is whether you want to wait for Washington to catch up or start reading ingredient labels today. 8 chemicals, all legal in America, all banned in dozens of other countries. The food industry spent billions making sure you never thought twice about what is on the label, but now you know. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Check the ingredients on 3 products in your kitchen right now and tell me what you find in the comments. I guarantee at least one of them will surprise you. If this video opened your eyes, share it with someone who needs to see it.